In?
I thought he was. He did last time. Washington Mills in the house.
We should have gotten
There's enough of us for us, right?
So can you hear me? Dave Finch is not
Dave
coming?
Finch, I thought said couldn't make it. Yeah. Elsa's
Elsa? Hello, Elsa? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Elsa.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey Elsa, how you doing?
Hi.
Got here, Tony.
Great.
Together. Oh. Yeah, where's the room? It's gonna be Monday. That's what Laura said. She saw an email. Can you open this email that during the sending? She sent it
No.
to
Okay.
Okay.
It's always such a freaking pain. I gotta call Sally every week. Every month.
She should just come and do it.
I know.
Pay the actual.
Tonight?
Yeah.
See whom.
All right, good evening. Good evening, everybody. Hi, this is the September Flood Mitigation Advisory Committee meeting. There's a door to your right and a door to your left, no smoking. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
Open.
Second? Any, all in favor? Okay, great. Meeting's open. Okay, thank you for coming. So I'd like to look at the minutes for June. Did you guys take a look at them? Comments, changes? Do you have copies of them?
Yeah.
They're good to you, okay, hang on. All right, a motion to approve the June 26th minutes.
Moved.
Any opposed? All in favor? Aye, okay. All right, and then we have the, all right, so the minutes of 6:27 are approved, 8:22 minutes. Any comments, changes, objections?
I don't have them.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else need a
You
copy?
guys got 822's minutes?
I do not.
I do not.
Thank you.
Seem okay to me.
Steve, any comments on 822?
That's fine.
Dave, can you hear us?
Sure can.
All
Can
right,
you hear
great.
me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great.
Tell me what you think when you're ready, please.
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, okay, motion to approve the 822 minutes.
Moved.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, minutes have passed. Okay. All right, so, does anybody out there want an agenda? I have a couple of extra copies.
They're also on the website if you want to.
Yeah, they're on the website. Anybody need a copy? No? Okay. All right. All right, so Manny, usually what we do is, Leilani, so thank you for joining us, Manny. So Leilani couldn't make it tonight. She asked Manny to stand in or sit in for her. So thank you for coming. Usually we go through this updates on the holistic watershed, and I know she usually speaks to Jerry before she gets here, and I know she did speak to him today. So I'm just gonna run through a couple of these and just see if there's any updates that are important. So we all know silt removal's in progress. Trying to get a meeting with the Army Corps in the next month to see what they're up to and when they're gonna get really going. I put together a list. Item number 5 is resolutions that we sent to the board. So I'd like to go through them just to kind of get an update on all of them. So I broke the dam study into that. SLR, who you know studied the Mamaroneck Sheldrake. We're still waiting there for their final report that's approved by DEC and I guess the Board of Trustees. I'm not sure when they're gonna do that and make it public, but once that is done, then supposedly it's gonna be public for everyone. I know we had a greet with some of the Beaver Swamp people. I see Susan, you were here. You did a very good job getting people together. Thank you. Who else was there that I'm not remembering? Anybody from Beaver Swamp? No? Okay. Well, Washingtonville, quite a field trip, I must say. In force. So Susan, I did speak, I emailed SLR and they said they will be studying the Beaver Brook Swamp.
But it just won't be in the plan study that just came out.
No, it's not in what right up to date, they just did Mamaroneck Sheldrake. So he said they walked around, as Bernie and I know they did, and they're gonna be coming back to do a similar study to what they did in Mamaroneck Sheldrake. And then I had an email from a resident that they did a study previously, and I don't know if she sent me the link, but if she did, I'll forward it to you.
Yeah, the link is in there.
The link is in
Yeah,
there?
it was from 1988, the study, I think. 88?
So you have one from 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, yours might be newer. I think the other one was like from 1988 or something.
Oh.
Is there a link to the one you have? Send it to me again. All right, great, thank you.
If you could send me the one you have.
Yeah, definitely. If the link is in, Steven says the link is, I'll send it to you.
Or it might be an attachment.
You know when they're going to come back to do that study, the SLR?
And yeah, yeah, no, I don't, Patty.
Is that gonna be like the SLR2 we've been talking about, or is that gonna be a separate thing?
No, so there's been some discussion about getting SLR, that's the firm that did the Mamaroneck study, to come back and, if on the minutes, if you look at, we've asked for a study of, retention, detention in the watershed, retention and detention at Mamaroneck Avenue Dam and Reservoir. A look at the highway runoff and how could we store it at the clover leaves. What else have we asked for, Vern?
We asked for the aquifer.
Aquifer, how the aquifer affects, so we've asked for all of those studies. And there's an email running around saying, well, maybe we can get SLR back to do a bunch of more additional studies.
I think somebody must have their microphone on Zoom.
You can mute them.
Yeah, you're gonna have to mute them.
So,
Is your microphone on?
1 minute. David, can you mute yourself? You're the only, all right, please.
Manning, I know you're on the board.
What was your question?
Urgency of getting the SLR2 here, because we're out of time. So studies are time of what we do not have. So how is that gonna get expedited to benefit the residents? With us waiting, I mean, we're waiting for studies and we're really in the same spot. Redundant studies. So like, are we pressing them? I mean, because that's money well spent to have them boots on the ground, getting these studies done and encompassing everything that needs to be done, dotting our i's and crossing our t's. We have no time for margin of error anymore, so how quickly are we gonna push them through, wipe the slate clean and get these done? Like, how can that happen?
How can, are you asking as a resident or are you asking as like part of this committee? Do you want this committee to kind of push and send something to the board and then me present to the board and get it on an agenda to kind of
Not
speed
only
with it?
this committee, but I would like you, not you specifically,
Yeah.
you as the BOT, to move this through quickly, because it's not a need or a wish list, it's something that we really need to do, because
It's a
we're
necessity.
missing points where we keep measuring without getting this encompassed in one clean sweep. We should went to the table already
Mhm.
and already known what we needed and what we needed to study and what we needed to get done, and it should have been in phase 2 by now.
Mhm.
We're running out of time, like tonight. we're running out of time.
I hear you.
So, like, that's my concern, you know, like, we need action, quick action.
The thing is, I mean, also about this, like, we had a meeting with the highway 95. And we made some interesting things they could do, but they won't budge unless it's a study. Westchester County won't do stuff until there's the study. So the studies do have to get done before we can do anything. But I think maybe what we could do is, as a group, maybe we could propose to have an SLR2, be very specific on what should be in it from our point of view, just present that to the board. Maybe that could be like, as the one of the, present one of the things that we do, like,
Yeah, I would form it as a letter to the board
Yeah.
and we could see if we could, our first work session agenda in October.
So how do we couple the county and the state to be on board to help in mandating these studies across the board? Because we're in the receiving end of all this water. We're at the end of the pike. They made this, the highway mandating that we give studies, but, we're into the village. We can't fix the issue.
Yeah, the water just ends up here. No, so you're right, the water just ends up here. It's not,
Right.
it's not our water.
We need assistance quickly it was great when they swept in when it first happened, and, everybody was on camera and everybody was screaming the door. But right now is where we need the action. We need our county legislators, we need our state assemblymen, we need action in the Mamaroneck, and they need to make everybody else honest to what we're the load we're carrying.
Okay, so I think what we've been trying to do is follow the process that we have. And that process is that we as a group can make a motion and then a resolution to the board. So we've made about 5 or 6 of them. It's on the minutes. So if the committee wants to, and I put these on here today, Bernie and I spoke about it previously, because we want to know where are we with these studies also. So if we want, I mean, we could have a motion to say, you know, dear mayor and board, we've requested the following studies, and we can enumerate them in a minute. And residents, both we and the residents need these to happen ASAP. Please proceed ASAP or something. I mean, we can work out the way here. So we can make another, I would say, make a summary motion of all of the retention, detention, all the studies that SLR2. You also, with the power of people, can send the mayor and the board and the village manager an email saying, you know, we know FMAC has asked for a lot of stuff. When is it going to happen? What do we have to do to make it happen? So members, we're discussing a kind of a follow-up resolution requesting an update on these studies.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, we already passed the resolution to give to the Board of Trustees about the studying the reservoir.
And
I think we just need an update because from what I'm understanding is they're gonna go to the county and partner with the county with the reservoir. Where that's at, I don't know.
In other words, we don't need a resolution it's passed. We need
Yeah.
just a list saying,
We-
we've already asked for these, maybe with the dates. Put what we asked for, where do they stand?
Yeah.
Can you give us an update? We need to know so that we can move ahead. And the community needs to know.
I agree. I think you should just form it as an email with your list of things that you have questions on and send it to just the entire
Right,
board.
it doesn't have
I
to
don't
go
think you need
through
to-
Manny or Leilani, it's just
No,
a,
it's just a
please
general
update
authority.
us.
Yeah, just update.
I would send it to Lonnie and CC Jerry. That's the way I.
No, I mean, it doesn't have to go through them. In other words, they don't have to present it to the board. They just have,
Okay.
we just have to ask. You've gotten these presented to you. Can you update us on them, please?
I don't know if Leilani even has gotten a lot of this stuff through yet, because she's only allowed, I think, what, 2 things to bring up?
Three.
Well, this was
I
on the
did.
work session. This resolution to study the reservoir was on the work
But there's
session.
other things, a lot of the other things I think we put through, we asked for have not got through yet.
Such as, do you know what
Yeah,
hasn't
so
gone
which-
through?
Yeah, which, if you let me know which items.
For instance, the aquifer study. The study for, where were we walking, Tony, by Bob Walker Park, the Sheldrake, the Sheldrake study that we asked for? You mean the dam is being done,
It was a separate
Yeah.
study for the reservoir.
So-
They said that the Board of Trustees said they were gonna do something about it, but we need an update. on what's
the zoning changes we asked for, based on the new zoning changes, we asked for additional zoning changes on those.
Certainly been on the.
All right, so let's just try to summarize. So on the retention, detention, we would like an update on the Mamaroneck Dam and Reservoir. On the countywide, no, the watershed. Right, because we asked for a watershed retention, detention.
Yeah, it was, I believe it's reservoir and up or something.
So we asked for Merrick Dam and Reservoir and Saxon Woods, and then I think we asked for a watershed. I can just list these.
The watershed, which go up to Silver Lake.
That was the partner with Westchester County.
We asked for the aquifer study. Through the Thruway Authority, now we're asking for really kind of I guess a study on
Was the Clover-
yeah, we
the
asked for
Clover Lakes and Gedney-
I-95
Gedney
and
Pond.
Hutch. Well, no, we asked for I-95 and Hutch,
Yeah.
right? All the water coming off I-95 and Hutch, how can we retain it?
That's what they're saying now, that the Thruway Authority wants a study done.
They want us to study it.
Yeah, unfortunately. that's
Yeah.
not the way I would-
Aquifer. All right, so I'll send an email. I'll CC everybody, you all, and yeah.
Yeah, because we'll also probably pick up 1 or 2 other things we're not thinking about right now.
I'll send a draft out to you guys, and then if I forgot something, you can put it, edit, okay?
I think you were talking about the city of Sheldrake. I got brought it up.
Right, but we didn't, You mean the Beaver Brook or the Sheldrake?
No, you said
Oh,
no.
yeah, you're right, Sheldrake, yes. Because that was after the rains in April,
Right, it's changed.
right?
Well, it's been changing, but now, when the confluence at Columbus Park is low, the Sheldrake is flooding Madison Center in Washington. And it's coming over before the bend.
And we don't know why that's happening, right?
Water changes, water finds its way.
I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the highway also. That runs right into it.
Is that also where Town of Amerenik empties out their dam into or lowers their dam?
Could be a few things, and even that's what this.
Here we go.
It could be the 1,200 tons of firewood that's on Sheldrake River. It could be the abandoned vehicles, it could be the transfer center that's built on it. It could be a variable.
Okay,
Plus, the floodgates opening and closing, there's no water retention, plus the highway. But it's not making it around the bend, it's not even going, it's jumping on Plaza as soon as you leave Bugwell Park. It's coming right over and it's flooding all of us
all right.
within minutes. The Beaver Brook swamp be included in that list?
Yeah, here's the resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here's our resolution, which is sent to the Board of Trustees. This is on resolution. Authorize the village manager to partner with Westchester County to seek funds for an engineering assessment of potential detention and retention sites for stormwater throughout the Mamaroneck, Sheldrake, and Beaver Swamp watersheds, including but not limited to the Mamaroneck Reservoir, Saxon Woods Park, Silver Lake, and any and all areas where stormwaters could be detained, retained. In discussion with SLR did not study retention/detention and do not have this in the scope of the watershed study they are completing.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's the official
Solution.
resolution.
All right, so I'll send the draft to you and then, I mean, to FMAC, and then you guys edit it, and then I'll send it to Leilani and Jerry and ask for an
Hey, man,
update.
Any of the stuff that we're talking about get to you yet?
I have not heard a couple of those things.
So where are we?
Which ones haven't you heard about?
And so, you know,
Or Sheldrake.
it probably wouldn't hurt for the Washingtonville, what is your official name?
Washington Community Association.
Well, WNA, right? To send a similar email saying that we requested all this stuff.
Yeah.
You want an update? Or you'd like an update?
That will happen.
Let me ask you, is there any way that we could have a special meeting, that we talk this flood stuff and we get all this stuff past you guys?
I mean, it's worth making the request. I just can't guarantee
Yeah.
all the members.
What's your
We
idea?
have a special meeting with the Board of Trustees just to present all of our stuff so it gets through all in one meeting.
Well, could we come to a work session?
I think you come to a work. I think the best way to do it is come to a work session. I don't think a special meeting. I think it's just hard to get all of us to come out off cycle to a special meeting.
Would they allow us to speak at a work session?
And typically we don't let people come and speak, but I know, for example, we have when it's like for a specific agenda item, like we have like the library come and we know they usually come on a work session and we let them come up and present. I would be okay with having something like this for flood mitigation.
So we would have to request that in
Yeah.
advance.
Correct.
You know what, I think what Tony is trying to say, and I think what every flood victim
Mhm.
really needs is, and you're on that receiving end, you
Yeah.
know this. If the IABC could have a special meeting to have a conversation about their businesses.
Yep.
Then there should be a special meeting for flooding and its situation and to get the work done. Because at a work session, it's just not about flooding, it's about this part or that tree. We need to be laser focused on flooding because we're flooding in all areas of the village. And if we don't put our heads to the grindstone and we're all deviated in different places, my opinion is a special meeting, my BOT, the people we voted in, should make it their point to get there to have these conversations. And if you have to have 2 or 3 or 4 meetings like that to make these things happen, to get them moving, then so be it. Because I think that this whole area deserves that. We deserve it. And we deserve a special meeting to make it happen.
I'm not
You know,
disagreeing.
so like, you should put a resolution through possibly and request that, and request maybe 3 of them, mini charrettes happen for you to get these things accomplished and the BOT actually get their nose to the grindstone and make it happen and start pumping it out.
Yeah,
Tim,
Thank you, Tony. So, just out of curiosity, it seems like you're doing diligence on your part. You're sending the information up the chain for the BOT. Is the BOT not being responsive?
Well-
Honest,
Some of the things you told me, I haven't seen.
okay. Okay, so.
well,
Yeah.
I think,
Be honest, let's be honest. I mean,
Yeah,
they're doing what you gotta do. You're sending the information up there. Are they looking at it, reading it? Are they deleting it?
well,
From what I understand from Leilani, she does this and then she does another board like us, and it was 2, maybe not, it's 3.
I think it's two, yeah.
Yes, she has 2 resolutions she could bring up every meeting. So we're given 2 resolutions every time we're sending 2, 3 resolutions every meeting.
Okay,
So it's just, I think we're kind of backing up.
okay. I'm gonna be selfish here on behalf of my neighbors and community.
Please.
And the Washington Neighborhood Association is that, everybody's talking about flood. Election time is coming up, talking about flood. Trustees that just got voted in, they talk about flood. Everybody's talking about flood, but when you get to the work agenda, it's not the first priority. That should be a bold statement on the priority of the work session. Hey, flood, what are we doing? That should be up there labeled on that agenda for ad infinitum.
so Tim, why don't,
And
and
same with the regular meeting. I'm sorry, Tony. Same with the regular meeting. This should be right out of the chute, right out of the gate. Boom, item number 1, ad infinitum, flood update. And that's gonna be up there until my kids have kids. And it should be up there as a first bullet all the time, and it shouldn't be, worked around, looked at. That's gotta be what Laura's saying, it's gotta be looked at, lasers focused.
all right, so.
I don't think anyone here would
Response to, I think, your question, I think. I'm not sure they're laser focused, but, we have made progress. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that, and I know this, you haven't even seen the thing yet, but the fact that SLR came down and did this watershed study, to me, because the Army Corps wouldn't do it. They drew a circle around Mamaroneck and wouldn't study anything else. So we made a lot of progress, but we don't have a shovel in the ground yet, right? So I'm thinking, remember we had a couple of meetings, and I think it was St. Vito's at the church. Was at the church? It was.
Yeah.
So why don't we have and we've talked about having more of those. I was quite in favor of that.
But you can't-
Conversation sessions, to get a special meeting on the
Yeah.
books with our BOT is to get the work done.
Yeah.
This is not flooding is not a wish list. And resolutions from the flood mitigation committee shouldn't be backed up and be siphoned in one at a time.
No.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
we should have been boots on the ground, not you, I'm being general, so please understand when I speak, when I am not directing this at one single person. But it should have been boots on the ground, laser focused. If you needed to have 3 meetings a month at the BOT to pass resolutions just for flooding and to get meeting of the minds to make this happen and make this move and start making strides,
Yeah.
that should have been done. See, because right now, what I'm thinking is that my aquifer is full. I got a footbridge that's damming things up, not one shovel in the ground, and the water is gonna come into my house tomorrow.
In addition.
That's the problem.
Jerry.
I'm really getting annoyed, because I hear about meetings, hear about all this discussion, reports. You know something, we were told that flooding was the #1 priority for the village, the #1 priority. But it doesn't seem when you look at actions, that it's not. It's far from the #1 priority, far from it. And this is what-
it's our
not
number,
the #1 priority.
it's our #1 priority,
No.
obviously.
It's supposed to be the board of trustees, #1 priority. I was told face to face by the mayor that flooding is the number one priority.
We should
Alright.
go
It's
see him.
obviously not.
We should go see him, talk together.
Go ahead.
Have to be the number one priority when they actually take us out of the capital project plan to get out. It's not their number one.
All right, well, I
priority.
forgot your name.
Well, politics.
Rob Spurley, 1407 okay. Since election after election, just like this gentleman said,
Tim,
heard nothing. The mayor came down my driveway when I was working on one of my vehicles and promised that he would pay attention to what happened at Stony Brook, with all the flooding we've done. Now, I agree, this should be number one for everybody in this community. We pay our taxes, our tax rate is gonna keep going up, but our property values are going down because of the flooding damage that we're done to our property. Okay, my backyard is completely eroding away, the addition is sinking on the house. This has been talked about for years and years and years, and when the mayor walked down my driveway and walks into the backyard, this will be number one, I promise, just like this gentleman in the front said. This has been nothing but put on the back burner. We have been told study after study, millions of dollars wasted on studies, and nothing has been done for anybody in the town of Marion. People down in Washington Heights have been flooded years and years and years. Same thing on Stony Brook Avenue, same thing down at the other end, down on the other end of the Post Road, down by the marshlands. This is disgraceful that we have been ignored. If we ignored our taxes like this, we would have to face repercussions. The people
Okay.
that are doing their job need to keep up on the people that are promising they're gonna get back to us, because this hasn't happened.
okay,
Nobody has done anything.
so I am gonna say in deference to the village,
Out over LMC TV or YouTube channels, and does that screw us up for
No,
being to be an open meeting?
No, we don't go over LMC TV.
We're not on anything, apparently, just the Zoom?
I'm not sure, let me just, hang on, let me respond. So we are doing silt, I call it silt removal, so, and we are doing silt removal. And I know maybe it's a drop in the bucket, but we are doing that, or the village is doing that, not me, obviously. And they have been cleaning some stuff out, so, and I think they're doing a much better job on storm sewers, because I see the truck out there quite a bit. So in my opinion, you know, we've made a lot of progress. On the big front, we've made some progress, not much, not a lot.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but a little bit of progress is not acceptable. People have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, the property value is going down. And here, we're doing a little bit here and there. The lady in the front was correct about how this should be number one priority for everybody in the town of Mamaroneck. You're paid by our taxpayer dollars, you should do your job and make sure that we are protected and our property is protected. We pay a lot of money in taxes.
Should be political, we should all have an equal opportunity to be taken care of. And it's not like that in this village.
It's been other people, other projects in front of other people that have been flooding for years.
We don't need to worry about a big building on Prospect Avenue. That's just gonna cause other problems, but our number one problem is the flooding.
That should be
Okay,
taken
all right,
care of.
I'm gonna come back to this. Patty, what were you saying before? Patty?
Before you go to, I think what the
Vermont.
room is asking.
I hear what you're asking, believe me.
That there's a laser focus. There should be, there needs to be separate special BOT meeting done focusing on flooding. Your hands are tied as a committee, just like mine is on the traffic committee. We can only go so far. For the example, we're waiting to remove a spot that could probably cause bodily harm to someone on New Street, and it's been pushed off since October. With that, if you're filtering one item on the agenda for flooding every 2 weeks into a work session, and it turns into 3 weeks, 6 months, we should have been hitting the ground running, our BOT. That you should, as a committee, that pressure needs to come from you. We need a special meeting, at least 4 every quarter, or right now you have to backpedal. Because really, we don't have a parallel mitigation plan. You don't have a timeline, we don't have resources, we don't have companions from other municipalities working with us. We just have a book with dreams. And my basement's flooded.
What's the?
You
you're
have a
confused.
wish list. The book with dreams,
Yeah,
nothing's
okay,
happening.
I got it, okay.
And you know why nothing is happening? Because time is passing. Our BOT needs to put boots to the ground. It's more than enough. It's a liability now.
Tony, I
I
think,
just want to park at their funding for their grant or funding and everything before everybody else has been funding for years.
I didn't hear the beginning of
How
you.
did Florence Park get the funding for their project?
I have no idea.
Excuse me, let me finish this before everybody else in this town has been flooding for years and years, I mean, 15, 20 years and beyond. How did that happen before everybody else's project got funded? That's what I'd like to know.
I have no idea. All right, hang on a
How
second.
do you not have, I mean, don't you guys control the funding?
No.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, we just advise the board on issues like this. We have no funding, no zoning, you know, we're advisory.
We're advisory.
But things are
I
pushed,
just want to
things are
clear
pushed
one
ahead
thing.
of other things against people who have been suffering for years. It's been thousands and thousands of dollars for floods.
I mean, I live by Florence Park. I didn't even know about it until it already passed. So,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
Daniela, what do you have to say?
I just want. Just so you understand, these individuals, besides the BOT, are not representatives of or work for the village.
Oh, I understand that. I was speaking
Understand
to this gentleman here, so I completely understand.
No,
that
but I
these
just want to
volunteers-
make sure that
I-
you're
No,
well
no, no,
aware.
I'm well aware of that. I
Okay.
just want to know how certain fundings got put ahead of people who have been spending thousands of dollars year after year ahead of that when they flooded once or twice and maybe had a little bit of a discomfort. When people's houses have been inundated with water, property sinking, all sorts of things. I'm
Right.
completely aware. I don't need to have that explanation. Thank you, though.
I just have to say something.
All right, Bernie, and then Jimmy.
I'm with you. I've been saying that since day one. It's the number one, it's,
We don't appreciate you coming to visit us last week, we do.
And I appreciate
no,
it.
no, 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 listen, I've been shouting from the mountaintops that this is the big problem that Mamaroneck has to solve. And I've been saying that for 2 years now. But we have to figure out a plan to get and shake the BOT and wake them up to this problem. And we have the resolutions, we're doing the resolutions. What I think has to happen is Tony has to go to a work session, a special work session, not somewhere else, right here at the podium. And go to the work session where it's, you know, documented and everything, and ask them the resolutions that we presented to them. This last resolution is a very easy resolution. It's just to give Jerry the authority to talk to the county to get a study. I mean, that's a softball resolution, if you ask me. It's an easy one.
Bernie, what I hear the Washingtonville Neighborhood Association asking is for a special kind of one-on-one meeting with the Board of Trustees to review flooding in Mamaroneck. I'm sorry, so let Jimmy talk and then.
I just want to say, the flood mitigation committee, which we appreciate you guys, but there's no aggressiveness in anything that's going on in America. All I get is robocalls every time it rains, and it's sickening. My suggestion is that you guys bring it to the BOT, and we need help from the county and the state to get with the other municipalities, because it's not just us flooding. Harrison floods, Rye is flooding, and it all runs in, we're all in the same boat. We need to make this stronger than just Mamaroneck, because it's not just us. I mean, we're more concerned because we live here, but until we all get on board and get together as municipalities and straighten out some of this, I don't understand why the county's not involved, the higher ups, because the BOT is not gonna correct this. You guys are not gonna be able to correct this. This is bigger than you guys. And we've been, myself, since the 70s, have been flooding, and nothing has been done. I'm tired, I know everybody else is tired. And I'm not directing it to you guys, but we need to present this to the BOT, but we need to get the county involved and the state. Because otherwise, nothing's gonna get corrected.
So we have Catherine Parker here.
This came about in this part of the discussion. Hello to all of you. So a couple of good pieces of news. We don't need a resolution from the village for Jerry to have a conversation with, our people in planning to start talking about a study. What we do need though is, a description of what that study is, what they anticipate the need is. And now is the perfect time for them to, for the village to speak with County Executive George Latimer first. He may actually even put it in the budget before he hands it to me in the, mid-October. I mean, we're getting kind of close, but it could also be in, depending if it's a study, it could also be in part of the operating budget in November. I get it in November, both the capital budget and the operating budget. And like last year with the town of Mamaroneck, they came to me in November and they had put together a one-pager presentation. And I was able to get $300,000 for them to do a study and put it in the 2023 budget, which now they're getting ready to fill out the bid. So now is the time. To your great question and point about Mamaroneck is not alone. You're not an island in the Long Island Sound watershed. I've been saying this till I'm blue in the face. The Liswick, Long Island Sound Watershed Intermunicipal Council must be reinvigorated. I had the 14 municipalities come to 3 meetings back in 2022 after Ida to say, guys, you've got to be working together. And they nodded and said, okay, we have to talk about this. And there was another meeting and then a little more talking and another meeting and a little more talking. And I can't do it for them because, and I will tell you why, this is like a really important thing. The municipalities have to talk to each other and agree on what these projects are going to look like, what it's going to be. And they have to come, they'll be coming to the county and the state and the feds for funding to do these intermunicipal projects. I can tell you from the standpoint of the county and state that when projects are intermunicipal, when it's more than just one municipality saying, we agree, this is the project we want to see happen, that gets really boosted up to as a priority. They have to be working together. Liswick has to be led by elected officials from the municipalities, the village, from the administrative officials of the village. They have to be willing to participate and get this going. I brought them to the table multiple times to get this exact thing happening. I can't do it further because at the county level, I then am making the decision on, comparing all the other watersheds and all the other projects. And it would not be, it's just not the position that as a county legislator that I can take. But it is really something that from this community, there needs to be somebody willing to step up and do that. So I think there's a great opportunity here. And maybe that's going to be something we can ask for.
We're not being told that though, Catherine. Because Jerry sat here when we did this resolution for the reservoir, Jerry sat here and I said to him, we need to get all of the municipalities, get Renaissance funding. I keep saying it, Renaissance funding, which is multiple municipalities that get together and you guys recognize that. And Jerry said, no. Jerry said he doesn't need to go to Harrison. He just needs to go to the county. That's what he said. Those were his words. Let's go back to the minutes.
Yeah, so
So
he may be right in that depending on what he's looking for, that is possible that it is something that's strictly money that is coming to the merit. However, if he were doing a project where it is, again, because of the Long Island Sound watershed, and we know water doesn't know municipal boundaries, and Harrison on board with the Mamaroneck, getting this help, it makes it a much stronger application.
Also, for some of this stuff, Harris is gonna have to be on board. Like, if we do something has to be done at Silver Lake. Yeah.
listen, I'm not saying no to it.
Yeah, I know.
He sat there and said
I think
the way he was gonna do it.
But I
I
think,
said it's gotta be a group effort. You guys have been saying that. It's on your website. It's right there in plain English. I mean, I don't know what I have to do. I have to light a fire in here?
I think Jerry was
Light fireworks off?
I think Jerry was thinking that just to do the study, he doesn't need the other, like, for
I'll
the,
agree with that. I don't think he's wrong in that. I
right,
don't think. he's
right,
wrong.
but Bernie has been, I'm sick and tired of hearing Renaissance.
Well, that's what it's on her website. It's on their website, not her website, but the county's website.
All right, so
That's what we have
So how do we get
that's
the
what we have
Board
a
of
grant account
Trustees?
for, don't
hang
we?
on a minute. I think, so I'm just gonna take a step back here and say, I think our committee is doing what we can within the bounds of what we can do. What I'm hearing you guys say is that, okay, even if we're doing what we're doing, the village isn't doing enough. And we've heard that from my committee members many times. So I liked the meetings at St. Vito's because at least we talked. I mean, we had some ideas. So I think, and Manny, maybe you can help us with this. Do you guys want, do you want a direct meeting with the Board of Trustees only on flooding? Is that what you're saying?
It's not a direct meeting. We don't wanna, we need a continuous work session from them, that they're getting tasks completed, just like County Legislator Parker. You have funding that's right here and you have a small window of time. We don't have time for a St. Vito's charrettes, so everybody could talk about how upset they are about flooding. We need action so we can get the money, get the municipalities together. Work needs to be done and work isn't happening. It's all powder puff and, smoke and mirrors. Work needs to be done.
Yeah, I think we just need an FMAC BOT meeting.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's what I-
Continuous.
I think
Yeah.
the message should be that we are 2 years post Ida and we need to stop talking and we need more action. Because the fact is, these robocalls enhance our PTSD every weekend.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, when it rains, nothing has physically been done to help us. So we can sit here and talk week after week, meeting after meeting, and it's not intended to you, but the message to our board should be, we pay taxes like everybody else. They need to stop the bullshit and we need action. If it takes having a meeting every week, so be it. We can't, we've been talking about this, I mean, for years and years, but it has been 2 years ago. So when it rains tomorrow and my house is flooded with 6 feet of water, who's gonna help us? No pun intended. We need action. We need to stop talking and we need action.
County Legislator Parker just gave you something on a silver platter. And that's not the first time it's happened. George Latimer has walked into the BOT meetings and handed money over on a silver platter, telling the village of Mamaroneck, reach out and come and get it. I don't want to hear another thing about St. Vito's and charrettes. I want my BOT, who I pay taxes to work for us, you work for us, to get busy. Because we're out of time. There's 11 storm drains in Washingtonville right now. We're 2 years post Ida. The water comes in my home in waves, just in a 15-minute rain. We're out of time. The aquifer is full. It's gonna come in my basement tomorrow. She just spoon-fed you answers. And then we're gonna talk about building affordable housing or a dog park. That all could have been fine and well after we fixed the problem and nobody attacked the problem. There is an intangible parallel mitigation plan that is going to make us all rest easy. It's not there. And it's time that it's there. And I understand you all have families. But if it means that my BOT has to come in a separate meeting once a month to get this done for the next 6 months and to write grants and get things done for this village, it's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Or there's gotta be a lawsuit. Or we're gonna have to start telling everyone and start recording.
I agree with that. I agree with that. That statement 100%. Why does the mayor, I mean, if I was the mayor, I would make it my first interest to be at every town meeting. Why is it that he is not here? And what is his position on the flooding? And in a separate thing, Tony, when you were at Beaver Swamp Brook, Stony Brook Avenue and Beaver Swamp Brook, you mentioned that there was a study that you had on your desk and you didn't get to read it before you came out there. Have you read that study and what?
Well, so that's
and it's
that,
gonna
this,
be available for us to read.
okay, so that's the SLR study. I had read it, but I hadn't read it carefully to see if they mentioned Beaver Swamp Brook, and they didn't, right? So I talked to SLR, and they said they will be studying Beaver Swamp Brook, but it's just gonna be a separate study.
The Beaver Swamp should come fairly quickly. I don't wanna say it's gonna be super duper fast, but we walked around with them and they went to Harrison or Rhinebeck High School and they followed Beaver Swamp where it goes up to Harrison. So I don't see it being a problem for them to work something out fairly quickly, to have something in writing. Not set in stone, but give us an idea of what's going on there, just like they told us what's going on in Sheldrake. It's probably gonna be more or less the same types of things that they're saying with the Sheldrake that they're saying with the Beaver Swamp, just in different areas. So I don't see it taking that long because they went out and they walked the Beaver Swamp and they did all their studies and all that stuff. So I feel like it's gonna come fairly quick.
Okay, but I,
So Manny, did you know that Beaver Swamp Brook finally, we had fought for so many years to be in the capital project plan? And this year and last year, when they were finally have work done and studies done, they took us out of it. Took us out of that project plan, and now the comprehensive plan here is good until 2028, and I feel like we have absolutely no hope. And I wonder, like, wow, why? Does our mayor hate us? Hate our neighborhood? Why would he approve taking us out of capital project plan when it took us so many years to get put in it?
We've suffered so much, it's ridiculous. And that's not to mean anybody else is suffering, because you guys have been suffering now in Washingtonville along 95, everybody's been suffering. And it's absolutely disgraceful that the mayor does come around when it's election time and say that they're gonna work on this stuff, and he isn't even here. I mean, you're the closest person to him, correct, Tony?
well,
I would say Manny is.
well, it usually is, it's usually Leilani is our trustee, so the process.
Manny's here wrong.
Everybody in the community that he just doesn't care.
No, you're gonna kill us.
He's paid by our taxpayer money, he should be at every single meeting before and after. And I'm sorry I showed up late, but before and after, he should be here, he should have full interest in me and be doing what he said he was gonna do.
So let's talk about. Manny, just what? What do we do? How do we get front and center with the BOT? I mean, I think that, you as a group have power just because of numbers. I mean,
How do we do?
people that flood are asking to get these studies, all these motions we have to expedite them. So how do we do that?
I mean, I have two proposed solutions based on what, I'm hearing. Sorry, I have two proposed solutions based on like everything that I'm encompassing and everybody's expressing. One, I could, like, I don't want to overstep Leilani because this is her committee and I don't want to kind of go and do that, but I could propose to her, or I can propose it myself, to have one work session item that each one of our meetings always be flooding. Like, I know we're only allowed two, but one of us could just, pick one, and we always will have flooding be one of the things. I know right now we changed and we have an update from Jerry at the beginning of every regular meeting. Jerry always gives an update. We always start with flooding. It's the beginning of every meeting. We always do that, and it's important. Some of the things, it's not news that we want to hear. It's usually something's delayed or we don't have the right permit, but we have been getting updates at the beginning of every meeting from Jerry, whether dredging has started or when, a project's going to begin, or an update on a study. So I know we have been doing that. I get that's not enough. I'm like many of you here, I was impacted by flooding for most of my time here in Mamaroneck. So this is a very important priority to me. My other solution is I can talk to my other board of trustee members and see and just express that the importance that the community really wants to believe in us, that we believe that flooding is a top priority. And if we can set a special meeting, either, I don't know what the duration will be. I don't know if it's once a month. I don't know if it's once a quarter, but just to really,
Weekly at this point.
I 100%.
So far.
Mhm.
it should
I
be a
100%
weekly meeting Until people are sick of having meetings and maybe get some work done.
I 100% agree. Yes, so it's behind, and we can have meetings weekly, but I don't think weekly meetings would give us enough time to show that progress is being made. We can meet every day. That doesn't mean we're going to have an update every day. So I think but I 100%, but I think, but action unfortunately takes time, and we can meet weekly, but it may not be for every 2 weeks.
Meetings are not working. The supervisory committee is doing the best you guys can, but it's not
100%.
moving it forward.
All right, Bernie, and then, what was it, Gary? Rob, sorry.
I think we need to look at our resolutions that we sent to the BOT and get updates.
I don't know.
It's as simple as that. It's, let us come to the work session and Tony sits there and says, 1, 2, 3, 4, what are the updates? What's happening on this resolution? What's happening on this resolution? What's happening on this resolution? It's simple. It's what is Jerry doing as far as the county with the reservoir?
But a lot of these resolutions haven't even made it through yet, so I think we have to, I think.
Why
we have
you're
to have
sending
that-
resolutions. I don't know why.
They're on
that
the
needs to
work
be the route
session.
that you send.
This, the one that's on the work session that I just read you is on the work session. What's the update of that?
Can I just again, I don't know why you guys are sending resolution. I think that's delaying a lot of the things you're talking about, like some of the things you guys are bringing up, or I've never even heard of them. And I just don't think it needs to be a resolution to get to the board to get discussed. I think it could be a simple email asking for an update for these items, and it can be all those resolutions you pass can be one agenda item, and we could discuss all of them and give an update on all of them.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I think doing separate resolutions is causing the delay because we're only allowed a couple items, so we all sit on multiple other committees. So I think we're delaying things that shouldn't be delayed because there should be one item that's sent to the board and we cover all of those things.
Well, how about this one item? Get the board to work on flooding.
Yeah.
So the resolutions come up because tonight we might, if we didn't have this audience, tonight we might have worked on one thing. We send that resolution. We're not gonna save it for 3 months. So
and I think-
that's why they're separate ones.
I totally agree. I think, but I think it doesn't need to be a resolution to come to us to have us discuss.
I don't want to give you guys resolution after resolution.
No,
I want to talk to you guys and say,
I think it's
we
better if we
need
have a
this, we
dialogue.
need that. I'm sick of the resolutions,
I
to be
don't
honest with you,
disagree.
because nothing gets done. I have to
And
be
that's
honest
why
with you.
I think we need is a special session, FMAC and BOT.
And I think,
I think
like I
that's,
said,
it is, it's just a delay.
And I think you proposing resolutions like that has delayed a lot of these items, but I just think it should come at the end of this meeting. It should come as one email. I want an
Okay,
update on these
That's
items,
fine.
and that can be.
All right, Rob, Manny,
Set a special meeting. If
I
we
can set a
don't,
resolution right
we'll be
now.
on the next work session.
Rob, and then Laura.
If only 2 resolutions are allowed to be brought forward in each meeting, why are the emergencies not have been concentrated on before those resolutions?
I'm confused. I mean, it's not 2 resolutions, just 2. It could be any item, but are you, can you just, I'm just confused.
Well,
about
the
the
emergencies like flooding,
Mhm.
flooding should be considered an emergency. Okay, if that is considered an emergency, why is it not being put forth ahead of any resolution at each meeting? If it was done that way, maybe this wouldn't be going on for so many years. I'm new to government and looking into it, but maybe it's a stupid thing that I just said, but why is the emergencies and the flooding and the concerns of the people who are being flooded not being met before other resolutions? I mean, that should be the first thing on the book.
And our properties had so much, has lost so much of our property. Just in Long Island town, maybe our taxes should be reduced. That's why we lost our property, so why are you paying the price for tax?
And
It
if
should be reduced.
the town refuses to fix the wall that is eroding the dirt from my property.
Burner Village.
The village refuses to fix that, and they won't allow me to fix it by threat of arrest. What am I supposed to do to stop my property from being devalued? That's my biggest question.
I'm gonna bounce off what he said, because he really said most of what I was gonna back up, but again. Kathy Parker just spoon fed you information that should be acted upon. That should be compiled into all the resolutions that you're asking for. But you could create resolutions forever. Unless our BOT makes it a point and makes it priority and decides to buckle down and make things happen and form a special meeting at least maybe once a week, maybe twice a month. But it's gotta happen. It has to happen. Or the BOT should disperse and people who want to make it happen need to come in to get it done. Because it's not happening. There's no excuses, it's not happening, and it's backlogging, and it's like a beaver in a dam, and it's going nowhere fast. Jerry is moving things along, but he can only go as far as he can go. It's up to our BOT to reach out, find the olive branches, and make it happen. I shouldn't hear anything else, and I shouldn't hear how we can balance the scales and we can do everything because the village can't. It's 2 years. I am 56 years old. I have never had water on Washington Street the way I did in the magnitude that we have. I have lost everything, and so has everyone in this room. And now it's at the expense of the BOT. It shouldn't be a question. If I was sitting on the BOT, I'd be running back to everybody right now on my cell phone saying, okay, they mean business because, you know, guys, we really haven't done enough. It's okay to say you haven't, because you haven't. And that, get it done and work, because at a work session, it's not gonna get done because there's other items on the work session. You need special flood meetings to get the task done and put your nose to the grindstone. If it's first on a piece of paper that gets mailed to my house telling me that you're for flooding, then I need to see the action. And I'm not seeing the action. And that's a liability. The village is posing a liability. Life and our properties, our homes, it's not enough. The Band-Aids are not enough. That spoon fed, move it forward, get special meetings, get it done. I don't see any other option. No room for speaking, talking, action, move.
And maybe we've had enough studies. I mean, let's just look at that, what the core that the Army Corps, the engineers, it's already said for years.
Well, there was, well, we had a study, and there was some residents that didn't want the Army Corps. So let's put that on the record.
Yeah, but there's
And I said that.
65 of us in here that want it.
No, I'm just saying, no,
We have conversations
because,
forward.
listen, you sound like me, Laura.
Forward.
I say the same things every day.
He's just saying why some of it has been delayed.
I
We know
just-
that.
But it doesn't even, it's not even our issue anymore.
Yeah, no,
Because together we can make things happen. We're
No,
here.
no,
Just
nothing
because
fun.
you're from Beaver Swamp and I'm from Washingtonville doesn't mean that we can't form an alliance, and that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
We should not speaking to each other. We should be working together. There should be a consortium.
But there are pushbacks from some.
So there should be no pushback.
Yeah.
And the only way that it's gonna happen is the BOT sits down and gets it done. Never mind the frills and drills, dog park, the parties, the street fairs. What's it worth to get?
Alright, hang on, what was your name?
I just wanna say,
You bring them over there, they see how much they move themselves.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what they.
And there was another thing I heard, that somebody made a comment, that if somebody doesn't have $20,000 a year to invest into their property because of flooding, maybe they shouldn't be living around here. That was one of the most disgraceful things that I've ever heard, and if it is true, and it did come from this committee, I think that's absolutely disgraceful.
Didn't come from this.
Come from this committee.
No, not from this committee.
We need
Go
help.
ahead.
Vote from somebody, that's a disgraceful statement.
we've been flooding in this community because of two reasons. One is we got a bottleneck in Columbus Park. And we've got a reservoir and a dam in name only. There's no dam, there's no flood control. I don't know when it stopped, but in the 70s, we had flood control. And the flooding has gotten worse because these two issues have not been addressed. And we're gonna study this to death. I don't know why we're not looking into tunneling and micro tunneling underneath Halsteads to increase the capacity of the bottleneck at Columbus Park. And why we're not expediting replacing the dam so we have a reservoir. to retain water when it does rain. To me, it's kind of simple. In addition to all the work that the Army Corps is doing, if we address those two issues, this problem could be resolved. And we're just kind of talking about stuff and asking for studies instead of addressing the problem. We've got a bottleneck at Columbus Park. If you don't make the bottleneck bigger and you don't retain the water at the dam, channeling is just gonna bring more water into the bottleneck. It's like a funnel. If you make the funnel wider and the tunnel, and that little spout is still the same size, it's not gonna solve the issue.
Well, the Army Corps project does address that. I mean, it basically calls for for a channel across the
Doesn't
parking lot.
solve the problem, it mitigates the
Right,
problem.
and they-
We're still
well-
gonna get flooded, after the Army Corps is done, we are still gonna get flooded.
Right, and that's why we started to talk about a watershed approach, because,
Parallel mitigation.
right, that the Army Corps is gonna do 2 to 4 feet. That's it. So, okay, the watershed, we gotta look.
Why can't we tunnel, in addition, tunnel underneath Alston Avenue Bridge, increase the capacity of that bottleneck, so that basically the water just flows right through. Right now,
But Sal, Mamaroneck contributes to 33%. This is a Dan Sarnoff calculation. 33% of the water comes from us, the flooding comes from us. It's 75% from above us. That's a big, or whatever it is, 66,
I'm not
66,
disagreeing with
well, I'm
where
sorry,
it's
it's not
coming
70, my math is bad.
I'm not
But it's
disagreeing.
66%. But hold on a second. So it is. I've been saying this all along. We need to stop the building, stop the overdevelopment, fix what's broken around here. And don't shoot ourselves in the foot. But we have to take care of that 60% that comes from down the river. It's
I'm not
a
disagreeing with
upriver.
you. The point I'm trying to make is that 60% is coming down, and the bottleneck at Columbus Park is not being addressed.
I know, I get your point, but we're trying to fix the rivers with the Army Corps. We've sent resolutions to fix the building codes. We're trying to do all that stuff around us. We need help from Mrs. Parker.
I'm here for you.
She's here for us. She knows what I'm saying. We need.
Bernie, let's let Anna,
help.
Anna, what do you have to say?
It sounds like you guys are doing a really terrific job, meeting and coming up with ideas and drafting resolutions and things. But when it gets to the Board of Trustees, everything is, you're not getting the support, I believe, from them. I mean, yes, I hear this, oh, we're doing this and we're doing that. Yes, there's the little spurt things here and there, but they are a Band-Aid. They are. And it's not gonna solve anything anytime soon. And waiting for the Army Corps of Engineer. Yeah, in my lifetime, I hope I get to see that, I've been living in Washingtonville. My house is one of the first houses gets flooded.
Yeah, I know where you live.
Between Madison and.
I know where you live. I was there the
But
last
you don't
flood.
get the support. I don't think the Board of Trustees, and no offense intended, but we really need some strong people there, people that, and actually they can come back to you and support you, all the work that you've been doing. But
All right, so I mean, we could talk about this all night, but do we, and I don't mean that disrespectfully at all, you guys are living this. Members, I know we're gonna send an email to mayor and the board asking for an update on our resolutions. That's simple.
I don't even think you should do that. I think.
We shouldn't do.
Don't ask, I don't think you ask about the resolutions, like some of the resolutions may not have even gotten to us at the board. I think you should send an email just encompassing each one of the items and you can attach each of the resolutions.
What I was thinking is just an email asking for an update on the studies.
I just would send in one email, mayor and board, Jerry, Dan, and just list each of the items. Cause I think you ask and say update for these resolutions, some of them we might not have even seen. So I just think it could be like, well, we can't give you an update on something we don't know.
All right, so an update for the studies we requested, period. Okay.
But if the studies haven't.
In addition to what the other items that are being brought up, I think my job leaving here is gonna try to meet with try to email and go back and forth and see if to really push for us to do a special BOT meeting with, you know, not even just the flood mitigation, just the community, and we can label it and have it be covered. And the main item of the topic would be flooding. I'm going to go and push and advocate for that, but then I also think I also am going to try to have one item each work session on flooding, and that's just something we give an update. I think that's what I'm leaving here, and I'm understanding like I want to do, but I also want to work to get updates on the list of things that you're going to email us as well.
Okay, so with email with a list of the things, the studies we need. That's one thing. So how are we going to address this, at the moment, informal request from Washington Neighborhood Association and Beaver Brook Swamp to have either more communication, more action? How do we,
He just said that.
Yeah.
Manny
how
just
are you
said
gonna
he's
do
going
that?
to.
My job, I mean, not my job is to one, advocate for our community, but I think the next piece is also to one, speak to the BOT to really push and advocate that we have one board meeting a month. I'll propose if we can do them weekly, we can do it weekly, but I think at a minimum, we should be doing at least one a month discussing just flooding. Second thing I'm gonna push to do is have one work session item every work session. There could be 2 work sessions a month on flooding to give an update on flooding.
So,
But then what I need from the community, what I need from this committee here is to send one from this committee here. I need a list of every item. And just to send it to the entire board, because then each one of us becomes more aware of what the items are, and then we can go and push and have those meetings with Jerry, or email with each other, and figure out where we're getting updates, because then we can go and advocate to the state, to the county to do that work. And I think what I need from the community, like WNA, I'd love if you guys send an email to just me, to the entire board, just pushing and advocating for what we want. Beaver Swamp, I was not really aware of that until you came to one of our meetings I think a month ago, and really expressed it. That was the first time it became aware to me. But it's just like, I don't want to see people upset because of flooding. I know for me, it's affected me throughout my entire lifetime living here in Mamaroneck. So my job is to really push and advocate, because to me, it's my top priority. I lived through it just like Laura has lived through it. There's so many of you lived through it. I don't want it to see it happen to anybody, but I just believe the more you keep pushing, from us, push us, the more we're going to get results. And I just think the only way to do that is, one, stop the resolutions on this committee, send emails. This is what we want to cover. This is what we want updates on. I'm going to push to have the meeting so everybody can come to the meeting. I'll even email you all personally to make sure you're at the meetings and to update you. Like that's my promise to everybody in this room. I'd love to get all your contact info so I can be able to reach out to you, as all of you. But then I'm going to go to the county. Like Catherine's here. I hope she stays after, because I'd love to speak to her after about some of these items, so then I can, really push. So I can go to the county.
go ahead, Catherine.
Trustee Rollins, you have been tremendous in this meeting. You immediately got it, and I'm so glad that you said, let's make this list and what do you need? And so I just wanted to add, since the studies that you have identified in a resolution, now time is of the essence. So last year to the 2023 budget, we had, I added $5 million for municipalities to do studies on flooding, and have your village manager or Dan Sarnoff write that up, what that would look like, and submit that for the 2024 budget. I just want to articulate exactly, that is the ask of, I think, all of you. And by the way, Tony, you and I have known each other a long time. You've been always a stalwart advocate and really helping this community. And I appreciate the leadership that you are showing. We can do this. I really do believe we can get some things done.
And I also.
All right, let Laura.
Address, sometimes when we, email the village manager, my email is blocked. And I don't think that's appropriate for a public official, or, employee to block residents. You think we would mayor, but you can't help with that. I think that if I have a problem and I have to address it, I send him an email, and I didn't email him that often, but to, get a reply back on my email.
I'm not aware of that, but thank you for telling me. But I think also anytime if you're having that issue and you're seeing like you're hitting that roadblock, I think you should also email the board, because then we can see that as well, and then we can go and advocate. I don't know what you emailed, so I would, but I want to be able to help you, but I can't help you if I'm not seeing the information as well. So I think it's really important that if you're hitting that roadblock and you want to be heard and you want to and communicate and advocate for something, always include the board. Like, that's what we are elected to do. I certainly believe that. My job is to advocate for everybody here. I didn't get elected to sit and not push things forward and sit and, help our community. So I just really appreciate if it's just emailing me, it's emailing the entire board. Like, I want to hear from all of you.
So I can segue into that.
I bet you can.
We had a conversation a while ago, you and I, Mandy, and I had spoken to Patty and Bernie and Bernie because one of my constituents on the WNA. We need a survey.
I 100% agree. We've discussed this. I love the idea.
There needs to be a survey that goes to every resident that lives in the village of Mamaroneck. Where do you live? How long have you lived here? What type of property you have? What were your watermarks? How many floods have you lived through? What was your loss? Did you recoup? Were you able to get FEMA funding? What would you like to see as a parallel mitigation? What do you think is missing? How can we help you? What can you afford? What can you not afford? What are your fears, your hopes, your dreams? And it should be, it's got to be lengthy, because everybody is unique. But we have to see what we need or what we desire. We need open space. We need to stop building. We need a moratorium. We need a whole survey so you can compile that and you can figure out what the real watermarks are, because we never had that answer. And lay people cannot go out and guesstimate. It has to be really concise. And what we need and what we want, what we've been through, what we've lost, where we live, how we live, what we see, what the changes are. Some of us have been here since the 60s and 70s, and we can tell you exactly what the differences are or what can change, just like Sal did. You could micro tunnel straight through Fenimore Road and alleviate so much unnecessary flooding in the industrial area and in Washingtonville just by doing that. But that's all a matter of funding. But the survey can help you because you can see where everybody is at. Everybody can't raise their homes. Homes are 200 years old. My house was built in 1868. Can't raise my house. And you can't raise my house. It wouldn't make it. So we have to find different solutions. And if we sit down at the table and really do the work, in 2 weeks you could have this really fantastic survey and collect data that's not here, that we don't have. And I know you agree with that.
I was 100% agree. We've had this discussion before. Data is just from my work outside of the BOT is so important. And I just think that really pushes things forward a lot faster when you have the facts and you have the data to back it up. So I'm happy to, build this survey or have the village send out this survey. If we could talk for like 10 minutes after, I do, but another piece is surveys need to be concise. I know we have a ton of things that we could want to ask, but the more things you have to ask, the more people are going to start it and never finish it. Right. I want to put something out there that people will start, they will finish, and we can have data, and then I can get the data to come to me, and we can present it at either one of the special BOT meetings for flood mitigation if we end up having those, or definitely at a work session we can update. And I just think that's really important. So let's discuss some questions, and then I'll get it to our team at the village manager's office, see if they can build a survey, have them build a survey, and have it go out. And I'll figure out a good duration of time for it to be out there. So let's work together, so we can get that done.
All right. I would like to just do I'd like to end the meeting shortly, but I want to go to item 7 for a minute. We are going to get the SLR study official, hopefully soon. And one of the questions I had of them and of the village was, how do we compare and contrast their recommendations to the Army Corps recommendations? We all have the Army Corps study. So between now and the next meeting, what I think, if we could, members, take a look at what's in the Army Corps so that we can start to have an understanding of, because if they're disagreeing with each other, I see that as another problem coming up. And I don't want to wait till it happens. I'd like to anticipate it a little bit. So that's my request for the flood committee members for next meeting, okay?
Can I request something from all of you?
The as opposed to which?
So SLR just did a watersheds,
We're not supposed to have?
which we know, yeah, we officially, we don't have it, but,
We don't.
right, so. I want us, so what I fear is that stuff that SLR recommends is different than what the Army Corps recommends, right? So then, now we've got two reports, what are we gonna do, right? So I want us to, at least to try to say, okay, how close are they? And if they're lined up, it's great, then we can hopefully proceed ASAP with the Army Corps work and with SLR, make it a joint project. But if they're disagreeing with each other, okay, at least we have to ask the question to say, okay, is SLR right? Is the Army Corps right? So it's not rocket science. We have two reports. Do they agree with each other? If yes, great. If no, what do we do? Manny, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I want to request something from this committee. Have you guys identified, I mean, I know it's not all, like, we should be doing this as a BOT and I'm sure as a village government as well. Have you guys identified any grants or any other funding that we could get to that doesn't fund like studies?
You mean it funds work?
Funds work or funds a project?
Catherine has offered many times that if we have the study, I know exactly what she told me a year or 2 years ago. You have the study with the recommendation and a cost, an engineering, even a basic design and a cost estimate, send it to her and she'll try to get it funded. So I know that's the process.
Georgia Latimer said the same thing.
Studies and it takes so long and now, like in 2016, it said it was gonna be $3.2 million. Well, we know that's not gonna be $3.2 million anymore. It's gonna be a whole lot more.
Right, but right now there is money out there, and the Catherine and the county. I mean, George called into one of the meetings last year, and I don't know if we ever sent them the request, but he called in on I think maybe Zoom. I didn't notice him. I remember it was embarrassing, and he said, "Have the village send me an email, and I'll put it in the budget." So according to. And I think what Jerry was saying at the last meeting was that if it's just a study, we don't need the Renaissance funding that Bernie keeps talking about, that you can just put it in. If it's a project, but what Catherine has said is that you need the study, then you need the engineer's report, and you need a cost estimate. Is that correct, Catherine?
That is correct, and I did not receive anything from the village last year. So I would love to be able to submit something for the budget for 2024.
Can I add to this? I hear this, there's funding from the county and there's things that can be done. I really think we need to, like, we know the studies take a long time, but I think we need to be doing multiple things at once. We can't just sit and wait for the study to be done and then think, great, now let's get the engineer's report. Now let's go and figure out the project. I think we need to be doing all those things at once because, like, as many of you said tonight, we're behind. We're really, really behind on mitigating flooding. And I just think for us to go and build a study and then let's wait 3 months for the study to be done. And it comes out and it's a great loud. We have to go get the engineer's report. We have to go do that next piece. I think we're creating this paralysis and this delay by doing all these things separately. And I just think we have to think in a different way and with another perspective of. Sorry, I'm saying we as either the board or this committee as they make recommendations, not the community. You guys are you elect us and we sit on these committees to kind of push the things for that you guys advocate for. But I think we as a board and we as a committee, I just think we haven't thought of that in a way of doing the report and the study and the engineering report at the same time. I think we're just doing everything piecemeal. I just think that's really delayed. I could be wrong. It could be that this has been proposed before and it didn't work out. But I'm from what I'm hearing, that is not what's been happening.
Well, the village is, I think that's what Bernie keeps saying, but the village, I mean, the village has gone for funding for bridge rehabs, right? The town got the Waverly Avenue Bridge money. The village got Hillside, the village got, what else did the village get? Oh, Boston Road, right? So they've been going after grants and been I think very successful.
Wait, Boston Road is,
That's-
that's
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 the-
DOT.
that's-
That
yeah,
has
that's
nothing to
big.
do with it.
Nothing to do with, okay, all right.
But I think that you're missing the clear and concise point. The village is not being proactive. It's a wonderful thing that the way Village Avenue Bridge is being.
That's the
taken care of.
town.
But the being proactive would have been taking down Bud Walker Park, removing the footbridge and starting to move forward quickly and efficiently. We're moving at a snail's pace and we're our own worst enemies. So we just keep repainting the same wall. The bridge should have been wiped out. There should have been open space. There should be open space in the industrial area. There's 3 properties in Washingtonville that should have been bought out and just made a beautiful glorified catch basin. We're our own worst enemies by doing what we're doing. And we're Washingtonville. And I'm not diminishing Beaver Swamp whatsoever. I'm talking about Washingtonville. Ground zero is taking everybody's guff and everybody's personal agenda. And we're not hitting the ground running. I should have seen action wiped out. I should have seen that footbridge should have been gone after the 14 feet of water left. That should have been gone. The riding Bud Walker Park, gone. Everything along the river, gone. What are we talking about? There's nowhere for the water to go. It just keeps going in the same direction at us. Like, it's enough. We've studied ad nauseam.
I do not disagree.
So perhaps these are the things that the board can start to bring to Catherine to get funding for.
That's loud and clear. Like
Okay.
I know, like that's like I said, like that's my goal after this. It's this meeting is over to reach out to my fellow board of trustee members and push for all these things we're advocating for and really put it at the forefront of everybody's mind. And, I look forward to that list that you guys are going to send. One, the list from this committee to send. WNA, I really want you to send something as well. I think it's always really powerful when I get an email from that group, and also from Beaver Swamp. Like I don't want you to feel like you guys are this forgotten area because everybody's just focused on one area that's floods, but you guys have just as bad as a problem in the village, and we all suffer from flooding. So I really would love to hear something from you at like that area as well. I think it's really important.
Hey, let me ask you, because we can give like, let's say the recommendation, fix Beaver Swamp.
Mhm.
Or we give the recommendation of 6 or 7 things that we think kind of would help fix Beaver Swamp. Which way would you think would be better for it to be sent? Like in specific details or just kind of?
I think always suggestions I think if you're just really general, then that's going to create delay, because then we're going to have to go in and put in the work to figure out, which we should be. I'm not saying we should not, but the figure out the work of like, great, what are the things that we can go and do? But if you have suggestions, then it's like, great, then we can look into those suggestions and say, oh, this is something really quick, or this is very feasible. We can do this at this moment, or we can go get funding from the county to do X or Y. I think it just makes it easier for us as a BOT to direct our village manager to go and just take those actions immediately.
All right, so the more specific we could be, the more it helps.
The more, I think like that's always, it's just an extra head start. I think if you're general, it's like fix flooding. It's like, well, how can we fix flooding? Where are we fixing flooding? I think you have to be just direct and concise and specific in whatever the request is.
You just said it in a nutshell. How do we fix flooding?
Yeah.
By now, this is no disrespect to you whatsoever.
Yeah.
This is a general statement.
Mhm.
By now, that roadmap should have been laid out
Yeah, I'm with you. You're 100%.
with answers and questions in the house. We're still here
Yeah.
wondering how.
And I think we know the
where
answers.
There's no question asked. There needs to be special meetings. It's not a will they need to.
Exactly.
They need to start moving on this, and there needs to be a parallel mitigation plan. I don't care if it's 600 line entries deep to figure out how to save an inch and hold back an inch and hold back a foot. That should have been done already. That's irresponsible of this whole entire village for not having that done, and to lay it on a community group that are volunteers.
With all due respect, I do believe that this list that we go through every.
Yeah,
time
so I mean,
look at
we have
like
this
the
massive
roadmap.
list, the
of
roadmap.
things that we've already put
But-
forward
and-
for mitigation.
And I want to be,
Right
And you can have
here.
it too.
It
I'll just say,
stops right
I've
here.
never seen this list like that. I think
you
that's,
haven't. Why would you?
that's
So
part of the issue.
It's the urgency.
Exactly. I feel like this this list is, if this is the list of, and if there's
Yeah,
no,
There's a lot of things.
there's a
on
lot of things on there, but I just think this is the list that will be attached as backup to
But the
that
urgency
one work
should
session.
be VOC going to the table and making it
Exactly.
quick, fast, just like they changed the code for a lot.
Yep.
That we should have saw flood mitigation that quick.
Mhm.
And then I could respect changing the codes for a lot. And I could respect everything else being done at lightning speed, if that was done at lightning
Yeah.
speed.
Well,
And one entry every work session in regard to flooding is a slap in the face.
Mhm.
Half of every work session should be about flooding until it's controlled. And then you can take a break from it and whittle it down to one. When you're managing it. We're not even in the process of managing it, everybody's hanging their hat on the ace. Just.
Can I ask?
Hang on, Jimmy, let me just-
95, you spoke about 95 and they want nothing to do with it.
There's a couple of things that they might be interested in doing. One would be, I guess the main thing is what Kate said. They seem to be interested in the Gedney Pond. There's and there's across from Gedney Pond, across from the road there, there's a kind of another lot on the, I guess, one of the Cloverleaf. So maybe make a, dedicate that part of the ground they have there, and they kind of make a tunnel under and make another pond there, basically to extend Gedney Pond.
Who's following up with that? Who's following through with it?
Well, that's something they want to study for. So that's something we'll have to
To
propose.
prevent Gedney Pond from overspilling like it did and coming into Washingtonville, you would need what Bernie was suggesting, you need levees.
They were talking about actually having a second Gedney Pond, basically.
But then when that second Gedney Pond reaches.
Yeah.
Then what?
I would think the
That's
engineering
where
studies,
engineer needs
I would
to
think
be.
the engineering study
Right.
would have to say it has to be 30 feet deep and 20 feet wide to be able to,
Stephen was on the call too. I was on the call, but Jerry had given them the SLR, the SLR report, and they didn't say anything about, the SLR didn't write anything in their report about the 95. So the thruway department, the state, took it as, we're not the problem, which then I got really heated and wanted to jump through the screen. But Kate has done a fantastic job and has all these ideas to make all of that open space inside of the cloverleafs, outside of the cloverleaf. There's like 7, if you have an aerial, there's like 7 different sections that she wants to turn into detention ponds, which is a great idea to hold the water. The water goes to the detention, it goes slowly into the river. At this point, it goes straight into the river, pollutes the river. The mountain of soil goes right into the river. Jerry had to spend X amount of time to clean it out because it's behind the ambulance station. And they are adamant that they want something in writing that says that they're a problem and their runoff is a problem. So that's the next step. We have to get maybe another SLR or have SLR refine their report on that area to say that we can use that for flood mitigation.
Did anybody jump on that and start that procedure?
Well, Jerry said he was gonna do it. That call just happened the 21st or the 22nd, so.
Sending them the follow-up from that was Jerry sending them an email about a couple of things, and then I think he was gonna try to talk to the county about getting money for that, for what they're
Yeah,
asking.
that, because they want something in writing. They're not gonna just do anything at this point.
Fine, somebody's gotta do it.
I disagreed with the whole way it went down, because I said from the beginning, what do we need a study for? 95. You're doing this, all I wanted was do the same thing that they did in Portchester by the Home Depot, which they made this big detention pond. What do you need all this? What do you need studies for? What do you need? You have engineers that work for the state. What do you need all that stuff? But seeing that Jerry gave them the SLR and they said, well, we're not in it. We want to see something in writing, which I completely disagree, but.
No, we'll get it done. I hear
So-
there's $5 million available for studies from the county.
Yeah.
Rob, you had something?
One of the concerns, in the past, some of the residents' concerns weren't heard in building projects. For example, we're supposed to be working with other towns in flooding when the home run project was done in Harrison, in fact, it's Stony Brook Avenue. Then when the school, which I have no problem with the school having other stuff built in by neck, when that was put in, our flooding doubled again. So the fact that we brought those things up and it was never really, it was kind of brushed off to the side, nobody, took concern of it. And that caused the flood in our area more than it normally did. So when I hear that towns are supposed to be working together and then towns are fighting each other and not hearing what residents are saying and how it's going to affect them, that kind of concerns me as to how things might be going forward in the future.
And you're right, and that is a concern, and I think that as a community, not just association to association, it's something that we really need to worry about because they're trying to build all over the place. They're trying to put items in areas that don't belong there, that are going to cause Washingtonville more flooding.
If I can, actually, I've been a member of flood mitigation since its conception, and I know on multiple occasions, as members that are sitting up here, whether present or previous, I know Peggy Jackson, for example, took several individuals, and Paul Ryan went to some of the neighboring municipalities, and during planning board meetings and zoning board meetings were actually, asked to be heard as interested parties of neighbors. And as volunteers, obviously, it can be present challenges, but this is something that absolutely, whether flood mitigation, this committee, or our liaison to the Board of Trustees, it's something that we should be more proactive. I know that are very lucky to have Catherine Parker here this evening. In fact, I ran into her earlier today and said, thank goodness you're coming to this meeting, because some of the concerns is how can we work collectively? She's been a champion in trying to get our neighbors to work in spirit and collectively.
She absolutely has.
And
she said a very reasonable answer to some of our issues.
right. And I think that let me just finish. And I think that what we need to do is, again, not just when we have an audience of 20 people, whether we have 2 people or 1,000 people in this room, what we need to do is we need to be more proactive, but we also need to have the foundation and support of our elected officials. We're not elected officials, we're volunteers. How do we work and how do we,
I think that you missed this whole
You
conversation.
did.
I did.
We've already
So,
established
right.
and I
that.
apologize if I,
Established all that.
I might-
fantastic. I'll read the
Laura,
highlights.
if I could, Laura,
That the DOT holds special
Laura,
meetings.
can we?
So,
We've already discussed it.
And I will
The Board
catch
of,
up.
Manny's gonna bring to the Board of Trustees that they need to have at least monthly meetings to discuss only flooding. And that flooding has to be on every single Board of Trustee work session. We're also, Tony's gonna send all of our resolution information and this to the board and say, what's the update on these items? So
Right.
we've made a lot of headway that you missed.
I know.
Back to school night got in
That's
the
what
way.
happens, back to school night, and this is really what was happening.
So that's catching you up that we've all been.
that coffee.
Yeah, where's the coffee and cookies?
It's on its way. My apologies, but that is something, just as a background though, this is something that we've always wanted to
No, we
do,
do
but
know that, but what we're asking for is that the Board of Trustees have special meetings to work on flooding, to move all these items forward, to get these moving rather quickly, like Patty explained.
Well, should it be at one specific meeting where there's just flooding, nothing
Yes.
else?
Yes.
that's
Yes,
it.
that's the idea.
Okay, all right,
Do we have actually,
It's
our,
a similarity to the items.
I
that
know,
was a
I-
Special meeting and they had it.
yeah.
It's
it was
an
open
extra meeting
but
for
it-
them.
it had
Okay.
a topic.
we used to have, our building department used to have.
I'd like to
somebody
see
who
it.
used
$2,000.
I'd like to see it happen.
We used to have a flood administrator. Okay, and then I guess for a while we were outsourcing this. Do we have in the municipality here in the village, and I know we have a village manager, deputy village manager, but do we have like our flooding guru who can work 24/7 on seeking grants from the county, from our higher elected officials? And addressing this, understand Jerry is one person, Dan Sarnoff is one person, you can only do so much. And yes, this is 95% of our problems stems from flooding. But would it behoove us to actually find like a flooding czar present here? So that he or she could dedicate that time to seeking grants, arriving at the checklist, because how much can you get done?
Pay me.
Do you think we could get a, can we get a grant for that, Catherine? Is that something you can get a grant for?
fund,
Positions.
Personnel.
Okay.
That's the one thing we.
I mean, would it be a flood grant person and the managing engineer? So because you need somebody to then run all these projects, as an engineer, not somebody who's Jerry now, I think.
Again, because we're all talking about lists and this and that, and you have, there's only so many hours in a day. We can't create more hours, but can we create a position so somebody, he or she is here 24/7 that is addressing solely flooding? Because eventually Army Corps is gonna happen. Eventually, these other things are gonna happen. You gotta have a quarterback. You haven't, someone.
I think Gino was the guy who was
Because
supposed to.
FMAC is really a good physical.
Financial.
Stable and it's a.
$6 million.
So we have surpluses or something.
million
I think
surplus.
Since flood is a
Good point.
very big
Very good
problem in
point.
the area, we should, I think you're correct.
Thank
Good
you.
point.
Hey,
They
Donna.
could write grants, they could write for whatever.
See, that's why I went to back to school night, so it'd actually be smarter.
Maybe we could put that in our email asking.
Yeah.
For the, what's up with these resolutions, and we'd like to add to that.
I think you can make that request, but I think the way I think you guys should do that is, one, obviously make the request to us, but I think as we, we're in the middle of our fiscal year, I think you should also reach out to the budget committee and ask if they can do the research to see like what a position like that costs, or is that even something that's available that we can go and hire for? Like, we can't just make up positions and hire.
Even as a
positions.
part-time,
I
like,
just think
yeah,
we have to,
something.
I just think.
It's probably gonna cost about $90,000 to $100,000 to get that person
I just
to
think,
do that.
I just
I'll
think
give you that.
bring it up to
Which-
the budget committee. I think it should go to the budget committee and as.
Wait, by the way, which is less than insuring one building in the industrial area now
Yeah, okay,
for flood insurance, so, yeah.
okay.
Well, you see, that's what,
Ours is less than
what, Gino does.
a lot less.
Oh, I mean, I think I thought Gino was hired as the engineer to focus on flooding.
But I don't know if it was exclusively, I'm saying exclusively flooding, not the fields, not, they all avenue, I'm talking
Just.
exact infrastructure.
And that's absolutely.
And he's amazing, I'm not taking anything away, but you have a village-wide with village-wide issues, engineer related. I'm talking flooding, infrastructure, vac truck, ACE, green gardens, this, that. I mean, these are things that can be,
So, Andrew, I love that idea, and to add to that, have that person take the lead for the village for Lisbon.
perfect, and everyone knows what that is.
Yes, we talked about.
Okay,
So, empower that person so that
Exactly.
they can really help bring all the municipalities.
Bring it in together.
Done.
All right, so is there an action we need to take on that, Manny?
No, I think you should include that list, but I think for a request a
But-
position like that, I think the budget
I agree
committee.
with
And who's on the
Ju-
budget
ju-
committee?
I don't know all the members of the budget committee.
But I agree, I
Any?
agree.
Glenn.
Glenn is, I know.
Oh, Glenn
Is on the
Tippett,
budget, yeah. Glenn's out, yeah.
So we copy them on that one.
I think you just, I think you copy the budget committee and
That's a
let
good
them
idea,
know,
though.
they make that request, because ultimately they're gonna make their recommendations to us as a board, and then our village staff's gonna make recommendations, and I think ultimately we approve the budget, but I think we could look into including something, whatever that position may look like or be.
I think
But
we
But
could,
that's something- but
I
that's
think
something
at
we
the
have to
next work
create.
session, we could move that money from the active budget that has $6 million surplus over to the flood.
And just think about the money it'll
Budget.
save down for all the repeat loss. Once we're able to have traction and move forward with some of these things, ultimately, we will, the benefit, not just to our residents, but the loss or repeat loss, and not just private property, but municipal, village property.
And that's what we were talking about in
Okay.
the survey. When you finally get down to the bare bones of what the real loss was, and who was out of pocket, what company was out of pocket, what residents out of pocket, your cost benefit ratio is gonna far exceed correcting the dam or the reservoir or putting in micro tunnels. Your benefit will be there. You don't have it in your hand, you don't have a grasp.
The feds would be envious of how our cost ratio surpassed.
Will benefit us.
In fact, we're gonna print t-shirts, cost benefit.
No disrespect to the Board of Trustees, and I don't wanna say that they've done nothing, because they've done some things moving forward. But Laura was at the meet and greet with the mayor. And I said, you're doing a good job, but you can do more. And there's a lot more that the Board of Trustees can do. In order for this problem to get fixed, it has to be 24/7. I hate to
With
say
with
it.
all due respect, and again, you're our sitting trustee, you're
Mm-hmm.
a liaison tonight, but with all due respect, that's why I think we're all saying we need one person. This gentleman is on probably 5 different committees. So from tonight, tomorrow night, he's going somewhere else. Next week, everyone.
No, I'm not disagreeing.
But my
saying
point
that.
is, so we
Yeah.
need to like funnel, but that's why I think that's more of a compelling reason
But
to have that individual that's eat, breathe, sleep, that's what I'm doing.
I've talked to some Board of Trustees and the mayor, and this is the answer I get. We
What?
can do multiple things.
Can, and
Well,
it's not,
but
that's.
there's a threshold, there's a threshold
Okay,
of
so
what
what's-
anyone sitting on
So
this
you're
day
missing
is.
the biggest part of this, that there's funding that needs to be put in before the end of October. For our village to have, for our village to have any funds. County Legislative Parker just spoon fed that to us, so here we are going in circles, we need to get laser focused and get moving, because that money window is going to close. And our window of opportunity is going to be gone.
That should be paramount, that should.
For another
We need
year.
to Keep moving to get these things done. Now,
So who-
expedite.
I know you probably already talked about this, if you did, just tell me, but who would we go to make sure, because there's a deadline, a hard deadline?
Yeah, we discussed it like.
Okay, perfect, that's it, okay. As long as we know what we need to do.
And time is ticking, because as I read, what's the most horrific for us all is that the rain is coming in.
What's gonna happen tomorrow?
So we don't have any time. We don't have any time.
Can I ask
It's gotta
Catherine a question? What is that, when is that deadline for the budget?
Well, the county executive's budget, the proposed budget is presented to the capital budget is presented to the Board of Legislators mid-October. So that window is probably closed for you right now to get into the county executive's budget. That's the first bite of the apple.
Okay,
If Jerry immediately got on this, early next week and, the mayor reached out to the county executive and said, we're gonna submit something. I'd like to get this to you. We just need a few days. We didn't realize it's possible that it could get into county executive's budget, but let's say it doesn't. That doesn't mean that it's not in for 2024. In November, we start the process at the Board of Legislators of going through the county executive's budgets, and when we see things that it could be a timing issue or whatever else, it didn't make it in, and we feel that it's very worthwhile project, we can put it on our list to include. And of course, there's some juggling that happens, but I have a pretty good success rate with that process. And so I've been able to, as I said, last year, I got 300,000 put in for the town of Mamaroneck to do a stormwater sewer study. So I feel very strongly if you get something to me by the end of October and I can circulate it to my colleagues, then I can really fight for you on this. And I feel pretty good about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Well, appreciate you coming. Thank you, Catherine. I wish you the best with maybe the rain will go east or something. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
I was wondering if we were gonna maybe address the moratorium that everybody's talking about.
I was hoping I thought you already talked about that.
No, you didn't miss that yet.
All right, great, perfect timing.
Okay, so that's under other then.
Is that under other?
Yes. I don't have that on the.
Especially because they had a meeting on Tuesday.
Oh, under.
Work session.
never mind.
3C.
3C,
All right, moratorium.
moratorium.
So I circulated an email earlier with regards to some concerns I have. And I'm gonna preface because I know it may have been convoluted and did not really expand on what my thoughts are. But my thoughts are obviously a moratorium of any kind can be lethal in many ways. Yet at the same time, not imposing a moratorium can be equally as devastating. And in my email, just for the public who are present this evening, I expressed some concerns with regards to the topography and nature of the 70 acres, which is composed of the industrial area. At this point, the industrial area is composed of 164 lots. It is 98% impervious. Much like our neighbors in Washingtonville who have been eviscerated and devastated by flooding, as we have in the industrial area, we also been eviscerated by the global pandemic with businesses that weren't able to sustain themselves through that horrific time. My concern, based upon the topography, 98% impervious surface as is, and the best illustration I can give right now is if you take a bottle of water and I pour it on that desk, that's what happens. It just runs. You've got maybe 95,000 square feet of just cement as a parking lot. Right now, nothing is being done with that water other than just flowing. My concerns in the moratorium in a situation in the industrial area where it's 98% impervious. If I want to make an improvement to that parking lot, which right now is completely curb to curb, wall to wall cement. If I want to build that, and I'm able to do so with a green roof, with infrastructure, with stormwater management, I'm only going to be adding something, not just a structure which can house employment and jobs, which is a vital component of our our fiber here in the village of Mamaroneck. Okay, we're unique in that sense. So when I talk about this, I don't want a blanket moratorium which just treats the industrial area like you would R20, R5, or in areas where currently there is pervious surfaces. There's 2% impervious in the industrial area. So I'm not saying no to a moratorium. What I'm saying is let's be thoughtful about how we do this. Because if I, at this juncture, am willing to invest in making an improvement to an area which is otherwise 98% impervious, why not encourage that or yield that ability for it to be done other than saying, no, you cannot do this. But anything we do down there is an improvement. So we flood, again, the topography in the industrial area, we are a bowl, okay? And there is no doubt that the current, and this has been, by the way, this has been for decades. This isn't something that's just new. For decades, we've been, I'm going to say roughly anywhere between 90, 98% impervious. So this is not something new due to a proliferation of development. What I'm suggesting is, and many, as you know, of the structures that are existing in the industrial area don't have the technology that we should have. So I'm not saying, yeah, go build something on a otherwise green space so that now you're taking that water and projecting it onto your neighbors or dumping it back in the shelter. When the rain falls, you're going to be trapping it. You're going to be keeping it. It's not going to be flowing on Fenimore Road or Waverly Avenue. So my message is moratorium, I understand, but let's be smart before we actually do this. So it's reflective of the unique circumstances that we find in the industrial area. So that is exactly, and there's no question, when you take a bottle of water, you dump it on that desk, that's what's happening now versus having a bowl where it actually traps it, captures it and doesn't just let it run off into, that was my point. The only reason, by the way, the only reason I'm looking at you.
I know,
because you're
I
asking
answered
me
you.
point blank what, and that's
right, point blank. And my stance on it is, from what I understand of moratoriums, is you have a specific amount of time, maybe a year, and you have to come up with what you want, why that moratorium is being placed. In this case, I do believe the moratorium would give the village time to upgrade its building code. Let me finish.
Right.
So my point is, why should we only let the industrial area for the next year do whatever, not whatever, but not have to be included in those new building codes? Why should you not have to, or the industrial area not have to wait? The rest of us would have to wait if I want to do improvements.
I understand that, but right now, as it is, there is no, it's 98% impervious.
I understand
Anything
that.
you do down there,
But are you gonna
would be
do
an
something in the
improvement.
next year?
am I personally?
Anybody in
No,
the
I'm
area?
not. It's someone else, possibly. If someone wants to build on John Shabowski's property. or
Okay,
TJ
so my
Milo's property, let
point
me just
is,
finish. If
no,
they-
you
there's
didn't let me
95
finish.
There's 90, okay, you have 100,000 square feet of curb to curb cement.
I understand.
If someone's going to build something, which, by the way, okay, right now, just to get people to look at Mamaroneck Village is a challenge, okay? The loss that people have incurred down there is tremendous. Okay, we account for 25% of the tax revenue in this village. $1 billion, a billion with a B, okay, with the industrial area, including some of the parts of the commercial district. We account for the net value of this.
Yes, and I've heard this 10 times over, excuse me.
Oh, let me finish.
If you're
So-
talking about wanting to build now, so I should the village should let you build in, say, what is the law, 25-year flood?
It should be
zone
25
now?
years. Okay, first of all, it shouldn't be. And
Okay, so
because we still have to come in front of planning and zoning board. And let
I
me tell you
understand
something,
that, believe
no
me.
planning and no zoning board is going to let anybody. I don't care if it's a 500, it should be a 500-year
I don't get
storm.
to talk.
It should be
The
500-year
lawyers
storm.
are.
But this, so it's easy to say.
Let's say
do a
we don't agree
blanket-
on this one bit.
Hang on a second.
Wait, can I?
Hold on.
Hang on, I want to hear, I heard Andrew's position. Patty, what's your position?
My position is that the moratorium should be in place for everyone, and it shouldn't be a special group, whether it's 25%. We all pay a lot of taxes here too. Believe me, how many homes were affected by the storm? Believe me, Andrew, I
There's
know.
no doubt
I
about
was
it.
I was affected in both areas.
There's
But
no doubt
Patty,
about it.
what is your moratorium gonna say?
I don't know what the village is proposing the moratorium going to say, but the building codes
Hold on.
will have to be addressed during that moratorium. That's the idea of it. Stop building so we can have a pause, so we can put in the stricter building codes, which I do believe are being worked on by the village. Am I correct?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I know moratorium, that's something that was very popular, as we heard 2 meetings ago, was something that we brought up and talked about in the last meeting. And I don't think we'd have a moratorium for a year. I think that just makes us, that's just delaying things even further. The moratorium should be a short duration of time, and it needs to have one goal. That's, like you said, we are working on updating those building codes. We talked about that in the last meeting of changing, like you said, a 25-year storm. We're probably going to a 500 and 100-year storm. So we are working to make those changes. But I think if you make it in a duration of a year, that's just
I
delaying.
was just talking.
No, yeah, I know, but I'm saying that just delays everything. I think we would not. I do agree with you in the aspect of, like, I don't think we can just blanket and just use some zones and not all, because I think that the goal of that is to do it in a short amount of time. So then if those owners or business owners want to do something and plan to do the work,
They won't have to wait.
they won't have to wait a year. But then also for a homeowner, I just think that, because then everybody suffers, because everybody wants to improve their home to make it more flood resilient. The people in the business district and industrial area, they certainly, like you said, it's in a bowl, it's concrete, it's pavement to pavement. They want to do something, but I think we can't go off of what if, like, if they potentially want to do something. It's like, we can't wait for that what ifs anymore. We have to take action and do things now. I think the longer we delay, the longer we sit and talk about, we debate these things, the more we're all going to get hurt when it rains, like it is all going to do tomorrow. I just think we can't do that anymore.
Laura, then Bernie.
Can I say something?
Laura, then Bernie.
And I am, plus everybody else in this room, plus others, have sent in our email requesting more moratorium. We can agree to disagree. You are no different than us. Your business and my residents are no different. I understand you're worried about your pocket, so are we, and our quality of life. It's only fair and just. It should have happened 5, 7, 8, 10 years ago. The building in the industrial area, any of the building in Washingtonville, or any place in this village, should have been halted right after Ida, and everybody should have went to the table and made the most stringent codes and stormwater management codes possible. We should have been the poster child for that. What I'm hearing from you is great advocacy for the industrial area, but with no concern for what's encompassing or around you.
Lord, I'm
Let
not
me
gonna say,
finish, let me
Lord,
finish.
let me just
Let
take
me
that what you
finish.
said.
No.
Let her finish, Andrew, let her finish, then you can respond.
No, it's up. Because I agree with you on many, many things, and this is where I have to draw the line in the sand. What you do affects us, what we do affects you, and it has to stop now, and it has to get corralled, and it has to be an even playing field, or we are going to bury ourselves. We can't allow you to do what you're doing, you can't allow us to do it. We have to come to a meeting of the minds, and we have to have a public session where we agree on what the moratorium is gonna say. Do I agree for a year? No, absolutely not. 3 months, because that pressures the board of trustees to make it happen. So we can continue. But what I don't wanna hear from, and I'm sure you wouldn't wanna hear from me either, is the effect that it's only having on you. You need to broaden it out, because it's affecting us all. Your traffic affects us, your thought process of an arena affects us, all of that affects us. And it can't happen. Because just because a building is flood compliant, the water is still coming to us. I don't care how you paint it. That's the fact. I don't care what word you use, if you open the thesaurus and figure it out, it's the fact.
All right,
That's
Laura,
why
let
the
her,
moratorium has to be in place, because we have to be in check. We have to follow.
Laura, let me
stringent
just.
building
all
code.
right,
if I
Laura,
can,
let him
here
respond
address-
and then Bernie.
And Laura, you have been, again, much like I referred to Catherine, a champion with these issues. You've not only appeared at these meetings, but also when we had the Industrial Advisory Committee, you were an advocate, you were very supportive of the collective effort. And Washingtonville, working with industry, making sure that's why we have the buffer zone. I mean, I don't need to go into details. So yes, we have very much had coexistence and making sure that what we do doesn't impact or negatively impact your quality of life. What I'm suggesting is this, and again, maybe I'm not making myself clear, is that right now, when you have a parking lot, okay, the water is going simply into the street and then into the Sheldrake. What I'm suggesting is if somebody is willing to raise and build something that is aesthetically pleasing, that'll serve a purpose, but also retain the water. So it's not just going out into the street. It's not just going to the Sheldrake, adding to the problem, but it's being kept on the premises through stormwater management. That's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting because you know what? I'm now going to take that water and it's not going to be adding to the problem. I'm taking it off the table. So maybe if other property owners do it, okay, then you're going to have less water that's going right in. And that's my, I'm saying
fantastic, and
anyone,
that'll
and
come
that's
to
my
play.
belief. And it's not that, yeah, anybody should just go.
But that'll come to play after. the
Well,
moratorium
now,
is
your
lifted and
theory about 3
everybody
months, I think anybody would agree with you, but unfortunately, you and I both know that sometimes 3 months turns to 6, which turns to 9 and 12, and by that time, that any prospect of development thoughtful, okay, that would be appealing and good for everyone, then go, no, I hate to use the word, floats away, it's gone. So what I'm saying is, if we're gonna do a moratorium, it has to be thoughtful. That's my biggest concern, because if somebody, and again, if somebody's willing to do something to take that water, I don't need a thesaurus, I don't need a dictionary, but they're willing to take that out of the equation, then that is a win, not only for the neighborhood, but also for our neighbors. And so we are agreeing 150% on that.
But that's
Take
why
that
we're
water
so
for
hard.
what year storm?
All right, so Bernie, and then Sue, so we got
What year storm?
Bernie, then Susan, and then Tim.
All soon.
Okay,
Bernie,
first, I think you're jumping the gun with the moratorium a little bit because Tom and the Board of Trustees, they went over the work session. There might not necessarily be a moratorium. They're using it, I'm only quoting what I remember. They're using that as a tool to maybe slow down the development down there or anywhere, because
To strengthen.
you're not keeping the water on your property. The regulations
Right now,
are,
there's not.
no, hold on a second. If you go to build right now, the regulations there, it's set in place, are not good enough. They're not good for the future of Mamaroneck, okay? This has been going on, you said it yourself, it's been going on for 100 years, okay? So this whole 100 years is all been doing wrong. So this committee decided to get together and we decided what's best for down the road. And that's 500-year roof detention systems, all the stuff that we want on a wish list. And those regulations have to be put in place first before you or anyone in the village, multifamily or anything, starts building and doing whatever they want to do, because it's getting out of control. I've been to 5 or 6 meetings where they're building across the street, down on the bottom where the House of Hondas, you know, stuff that's been built before, the Mason, all the stuff.
Hey,
It all has to, look, the
Mason-
thinking has to,
The Mason,
the
by the
thinking,
way,
yes, and is a mistake.
It's a horrible impact
Yes.
on the, so.
So we have
I
to,
agree with you.
yes,
it's
so
not
we
a-
have to flip the whole shooting match.
So Bernie-
Blow it up and fix what's broken and
Can I-
figure it out.
I
And
can-
it's not a temporary, it's not gonna be a 6-month thing. It's better that it's a short term, because then they have to figure out what, they have to put these regulations in place.
At Manny, the other night, what came out of that stormwater regulation discussion?
So if unfortunately that was not said and we didn't complete that, the goals had that, we had some edits that were gonna be put in and added to strengthen that code a little bit more, and that will come to us in our next work session in October. And hopefully then we can we can just follow the regular way we do things, where it has to go to a public hearing and then the law will be, you know, enacted. But I just know like that is in the docket and that should be complete by October.
And those are including the FMAC recommendations?
That I don't know what recommendation you guys made, but I know it's in the backup. It is PLLW and it's all on stormwater to change it for storm for 500 years and 100 years to change it from what now it's a 25-year, which is not doing anything.
I mean, we made specific recommendations on stuff like pervious, cement and.
So
Parking
I do
lots
know
and-
some of that
Yes,
is
some of that's in there.
built into the local law.
But the big item thing that wasn't in there was roof detention systems.
That's-
And whether you
that's also
think so or
unfortunate.
not, we have to have a New York City approach. And we are on an aquifer.
Exactly.
We're on an
Something we're at,
aquifer,
and we added, and that's why this is
and-
not that was not completed.
We're on an aquifer, okay? And you put the dry wells in the ground and they don't work. Okay, so you have to stop it before it gets to the ground, inside the ground. And that wasn't in the agenda item. And that's what I had a big argument with the mayor, that it has to be in there. And that's a fight that I'm gonna keep fighting until we get that. Because that's mandatory. All of these houses here are all flat roofs. Let's utilize it. The water can't go in the ground anymore. You can have the systems there for the inflow, but
We need retention systems.
yes, you need a detention system on the roofs. And
Bernie,
you
let me
have
ask
to
you a
have that
question.
first
Bernie,
blast
Bernie,
of
let me ask you
holding
a
the
question.
water.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Go ahead.
On green roof, and by the way, big fan of green roof.
Blue
Okay,
roof.
Green, blue.
It could be
So-
blue and green.
As long as it serves its purpose. My question to you though, again, and this is where it goes. We have to be careful in terms of how we articulate what we're asking for and the language. If you have a building that's 90,000 square feet existing, and let's say you do a certain amount of improvements. And that triggers the need to, now, are you suggesting that 90,000 square foot building should, the entire roof?
Yeah.
Should be? green?
Yeah,
Okay, the
yeah, it's
entire-
gonna be a
where
flat
Right
roof.
now, okay,
Say it would go up to half on.
I'm at the law, no,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what
I
the
think that they-
specifics
they-
are.
They would require the full, so they would require the least amount would be half.
right.
But Andrew, the blue roof is simple as pie.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is take your drain, your gutter drain. And you gotta do a structural calculation for the weight of the water on the structure.
That's, I was talking about the way, that's one of the concerns that
So
it's different when you're dealing with a home.
let's just
I
take,
want to ask you one other thing.
let me just finish, Stephen.
I'm sorry, I thought you.
No. So let's take a flat industrial building, 100 by 100. That roof can only stand, right now, the snow load, I think it's I forget how many pounds a square foot. So that amount of water you can hold without the building collapsing. So it's easy as pie. You just raise the drain up 2 inches. And it'll hold the water, right? And so it is an easy way to do it. The city's been doing it. You have to have a structural engineer look at each property and say, okay, you can raise it 2 inches, but it's a no-brainer. And, you know, a green roof is much more complicated. The problem with the green roof, then if you have a leak, it gets into detail, but the blue roofs are really pretty simple, very simple. So I said I would go to Tim. So, and then, okay, Susan and then Tim. Susan.
So Andrew, I think that all your years, being on the phone committee and what you do for our village is very commendable. But when I hear things about, sports facilities or whatever being built in the industrial area, it's scary to me. And sitting here tonight listening to you, I think as a property owner in the industrial area, you being on this committee now is a conflict of interest. That's my personal opinion. I'm just listening to you and not jiving with me.
Well, I certainly appreciate your input, and I think that my historic context of full disclosure certainly speaks for itself. But I certainly appreciate that. And if I were on the eve of filing an application to build an indoor sports facility on my property, I certainly, and in the past, I've had made certain disclosures to not just flood mitigation or the industrial advisory committee or whatever committee I'm sitting on. But I do appreciate your input. But as someone who, no different than you, if you own a house, you're a stakeholder in the village of Mamaroneck, you have every right to serve on a board and to speak and share one's opinion. If you own a home in the village of Mamaroneck, that's not a conflict. You're a stakeholder. I'm a stakeholder in this community. The success of this community, we're all stakeholders in this. Your success is my success. I live here as well. So, you know, it's not just, oh, I'm just a property. And that's then the problem. I'm glad you brought that up. Because most of the people in the industrial area can't vote. They can't vote. They own property, but they can't vote. Me, I can vote because I live here as well. So, you know, when you hear things like that, I'm a vocal individual on behalf of not just property owners in the industrial area, but also as a resident here in the village of Mamaroneck. And I would invite you to go to whether it's the Industrial Advisory Committee meeting, if it ever reconvenes, or the IABC meetings, where you could, you know, share some of those sentiments and concerns with property owners down there. This is not us versus them. We're all in this together. You flood, I'm going to flood. It's as simple as that. So, but I do appreciate your comment.
I don't think so.
What's that?
You're not in Washingtonville. Your personal residence is not in this area. Okay, if it was, maybe you'd think a little bit different.
Yeah, but hang on a minute. I think his statement though
Thanks.
about.
No, I got Tony, I'm good.
Hang on.
Where do you think I live?
And
You think I
Andrew-
live on a castle, 150 feet above the ground? No, I actually, sir, I respectfully, you don't know where I live. You don't know where, you don't know any.
Flooding has gotten worse in this community.
But hang on, Andrew, and
Well, and
What's his
respectfully, okay, my friend, I do know flooding, okay? I was knee deep in shit, okay, for months after 2021, okay? Assisting not just our properties, but our businesses who are multi-generational that were lost. So you want to talk loss, I'll go pound for pound with you any day to talk about loss. But you and I comparing loss, it's not going to solve the solution. We're all in this together,
Okay,
so we
let me
can,
get one thing.
yeah.
hang on, I need to say something as a chair. He is expressing really an engineering opinion of stormwater, because that's what he said, right? That if it's 100% impervious surface, that you can't, hang on, that is what, so his position on being against the moratorium is that if a property has is 100% impermeable surface, anything you do is an improvement. And that is a true fact. right? Now, I'm not saying it's maybe enough of a fact, and Bernie and this committee in general thinks that we need to go to a much higher standard for the whole community.
Which I agree.
And,
150%.
but I'm saying that his statement, Andrew's statement, is really an engineering statement that's true. So I really don't want to throw the mud around any more than that. I think Susan said what she had to say. He said we had to say it. I think his basic statement is engineering. So we're going to Tim.
Great, thanks. Back on September 13th, that emailed, all the land use boards. Subject was really more towards Washington area.
Thanks, Catherine.
And so,
Great.
I had a lot of my neighbors, homeowners in the area sending emails to all the land use boards. I'm sure Will got it. The spark behind it was the building, on 150 Madison, where it's a 200 by 200 single family, you want to level it, put this big monstrosity of a house on it. That's what sparked this email. Moratoriums are just temporary. Okay, so what I'm saying is this, is that we got the Mason, the Grand Street lofts, the Avalon Willow, all those good buildings down there, and the flats, Memorandum 83, Memorandum 80 rule. What I'm saying is this, the moratorium from a network engineer standpoint, from my standpoint, is a temporary thing. So what I'm asking is this, is that what you do is you strengthen and implement strong village zoning and building codes that meet and exceed flood mitigation plans with stormwater behind there, you get them with teeth in there, you get that, you implement it, then you pull off the moratorium and you're done. It's only temporary. It might take 6 months, it might take a year, it might take 2 years. It's gonna take as long as the zoning and the stormwater codes come into play, that I'll look at, and then they're all massaged and strengthened. Then you pull out the moratorium and let it continue. That's what this email is about, but that's what we need to go through as a suggestion. It's not permanent. Moratoriums are never permanent.
But Tim, let me just respond to that. And I don't know the answer to this. The discussion they had at, was it this past this past Tuesday, right? So we put together 2 or 3 pages of recommendations on improving stormwater regulations, right? I personally didn't think they would take all 3 pages, obviously, but they took some of those ideas and they're discussing them. So my question is, Manny, are the documents that were discussed on Tuesday night for the stormwater regs, are those public?
Those are public. That was on the work session.
Yeah, that's.
That's all available. That's all available online.
Okay, so
I have it up right now. Like,
all right, so I'm thinking,
see the proposed law, all that is online.
so I'm thinking that if you go, can you read off the email to everybody, or the www dot thing?
Sure, yeah. If you go,
You look at what they talked about, and then get together, come up with your list of recommendations. I'm throwing this out. This is what we did, right? We looked through other counts.
Well, we've already done that by the emails and the letters that were written. Now it's going to work session, and it's in Spolzino's hand, and they're trying to find legality. So now it goes into public session. It's a matter of going to the podium and.
Right, but Bernie's saying is true. They don't have roofs in there. Right, so, well,
Right,
no, we
He
could,
can send those emails, but if Bernie sees that that's not in there, that's something for your committee to send in as well and give your suggestions.
We put it in already.
yeah,
And that's another follow-up, just like we're having. this
Well, yeah,
same
well, that's
issue
right.
are you talking about the
But-
blue roof? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, the way I was told that it.
so I'm just thinking, if you look at what's in there now, and Tim, you see, hey, that's not in there. Send it to them, so that they.
Well, something for expertise of all the land use boards to step up and to put into flood mitigation processes in all the boards. So it's not only you guys, it's the zoning, it's HCDM, they gotta look at it, let them put all the inputs in. Solidify and strengthen all the building codes and the stormwater stuff, and then lift the moratorium and you're done. But for me, I build Cisco networks. I'm not a building zoning guy. I don't know floodwaters. You know, that's not my swim lane. Anthony, Tony, sorry. So I'll look at it, it was all talked about on Tuesday, I was there, they talked about stormwater and a few zoning codes, that was it. It was
But-
20 minutes tops.
Right, but if we can get those regulations tightened up,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
just
what
by changing from 25 to 50 years is a monumental change.
Rest of the board, two gentlemen on the same beat here, which is great, you know, we're the same thought process, all I'm saying is. Get them straight, put the moratorium out, strengthen the codes, and then pull the moratorium, you're done. That's all,
Okay, all right,
that's all.
all right,
Yeah, I
Steve,
just wanted to ask about one more thing that we proposed a while ago, when the Hunter lot parking lot zoning change happened. It included flood zones. Like, for instance, right now, you could build apartments right next to Beaver Swamp on Boston Post Road. We asked for that to be, to make that change for those type of zones to be not in the flood zones, basically. That was part of one of the things that we did ask. And I wanted to see, it was different from the specific ask of the changes that we asked for the zoning. The other changes, like the pervious concrete and all the stuff that Bernie was saying. So my question was, is that in there at all?
That is not in this law is only for stormwater, like that is not in that zoning change is not a part of this.
Okay.
So that would be like, that's a separate thing that we could look to do and could enact to not allow to change that zoning, but I just think that's separate from what we discussed.
That has to be, we have to just reiterate that change.
I believe the only zoning change is the height restriction.
Yeah,
I
like
think.
that's, yeah, we didn't
Yeah,
change
that's-
specific areas in the
Yeah, yeah,
village.
yeah.
I'm just saying, in this,
Particular.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even aware of it, really.
I think it's, the height is,
height is the.
so you don't have to go to the zoning board.
No,
to-
The change in height is basically. Base flood elevation is now first floor is 2 feet above BE. So they're saying, okay, if you're being forced to raise your first floor up 2 feet to be out of the floodway, you have to be able to raise your roof 2 feet.
Is that plus 2 feet across the board basically now? Or is it just more like other zones have different amounts?
No, I think it's across, I think it's
Well,
a
it's for the flood zone.
regulation.
Space flood elevation.
No, but
They
some
want to
areas
go
would
2
be,
feet
could be
above it.
2 feet, others could be 5.
That's not missing.
Right, so, right.
You know, the rain is supposed to be here like 9:45.
Okay.
You got like 20 minutes to get home.
Let's.
Kind of like unintended consequences that was.
They had you guys had most of the things that
Most of the suggestions, like as we're looking through.
requested,
it's
but-
back up, but, yeah.
All right, so I
like my previous comments.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, do we wanna, Manny, should we try to have a meeting in 2 weeks to do a follow-up here? I mean, would that help?
I don't think that we should waste time. I think you need the DOT to get on board with special.
All right, well, Manny says he's gonna do that.
Moving forward.
So Manny,
That's where we need to go, not backpedaling into charrettes, forward with motion and action
okay,
Yeah, the only thing consistent is robocalls.
and the rain.
Get them all
in the
done.
rain.
And have you looked at the new camera thing for Beaver Swamp Brook? I mean, I'm not even sure where that is, and they put it, it's in the woods somewhere. A little part of water that, like, all right, so how's this?
I heard it kind of looks toward the I-95 bridge, right?
Yeah, there's one where the
Stuff by the school with the.
one I saw was below Grove Street.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Make
Make a
shot, I'll
motion,
let
make
you
a
say.
make a motion.
Motion to close the meeting?
All right, do we, enough for tonight? Everybody? All right, motion to close the meeting, second, all in favor, aye. Aye. Best of luck, everybody, tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You're burning on the thumb.
So glad I left the back to school night. So glad.
Where are your kids in high school?
High school.
I know, like I give
They had hummus?
more specific.
Like people?
So I think I'll be too much specific with
No hummus?
I'll do a draft. Around and then just edit it.
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Lower Plains Road, Madison Street, Washington Street. They're all going by plans, except they're.